We are live with Find It, and I cannot wait for you guys to meet my guest, the genius, Joe Ingram. And Lynn, bring up his intro, and we'll bring him right up next. Welcome, Joe.
Hey.
Genius is in the
house. My normal introduction. Hey, party people.
Hey, party people. I'm your party people. I love it. I was wondering what you thought about that intro with the rocking it out. Changed it up a little bit
because we need the energy pumping. That's what
I know. But do you remember when I was on your show and I was like, oh my gosh, his intro is so intense. So I want everybody to see a little bit of it. So Lynn, pop that up there. Here we go. Wargamers, hey.
Don't be scared, everyone.
I can't hear it, Lynn. Well, we can't hear it.
It's somebody talking with a funny accent like Lynn Isaacson. So
I'll just say, hey, Wargamers, we're live. All the party people. I don't know.
Somebody with an accent going, improve your battle plan for better lead conversion. Blah, blah, blah. And then
that was intense. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on this guy's show. He is amazing. And then I got to see the intro and I was like a little intimidated. I'm not going to lie. Hey, Carrie Cohen. Hey, Scott. We've got some people popping in already. I told everybody, I said, listen, this guy has energy to burn for days. I can't wait to get your vibe in here. So welcome.
Yeah, I'm just really down today. I haven't had any coffee, so I'm not. Yes. And Miss Theodora, hello. She has commented on every post that Joe's coming on the show. So that's.
Oh, I love her. Thanks, Theodora. Yeah. So, Joe, look, first of all, I got to know your show, Wargames. How did you come up with that name?
So, Wargames to me, what I did was I sat down, and most people view sales as it's a battle against you to get against the customer to get their money. And so I said, I could either set out on a mission to change everyone's perception of it, or I could say, here's the War Game Strategy Group. And again, I love the movie with, shall we play a game, right? With the War Games movie. And I was like, this is the way it's going to be. How do we practice? How do we strategize? How do we get everybody who already has an idea? And once they're in, then I will shift them to actually understanding that it's not a battle.
Yeah.
It's not us fighting over dollars, right? It's us providing value. It's us giving them something that is of value to them. And that's what they look at and go, oh, well, that makes more sense.
So. Gotcha. I like where you're going with this. Now, let's go back and learn a little bit because I don't know this. I don't know where you're actually from, and I kind of know where you are now. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you're born and raised, and where you are now.
Kiddo, I was born a poor black child. That was Steve Martin.
Man, you've had a transformation.
I can go all the way back. Yes, you got to focus. So for me, I was born in California. I've stayed in California my whole life. I've traveled, but born in Anaheim, down the street from Disneyland, which explains why I'm kind of goofy.
Oh, goofy.
And then, so grew up in a family was traditional. Hey, look, it's mom, dad, my brother, and I. Okay, and then my mom one day said, "Okay, I've had the boys. I want girls." And the neighbor up the street was a foster parent. So then they went, sat down, talked to local government and whoever's doing it, the foster agencies, and they petitioned. My parents were very well off at the time. So I was like, okay, great. We're well off. We're doing this. We're growing up. Next thing you know, they started dropping kids into our house. So as from like the age of 11 to probably 16, I had 20 little sisters come through our house in the foster system.
What? Oh, wow.
And that'll mess with your head just because, your mom said, hey, I'm done with the boys. I need the girls. And my brother and I are like, well, who are we? Right?
Yeah.
My brother and I are 3 years apart. And so, but growing up, we saw the aftermath of crappy people, if that makes sense. right? I'm sure some were, oh, it was not really our fault. But we got kids into our house because my mom said has to be between the age of 0 and 4 years old. They have to be little girls and brought in. So we got kids that came into our house that were victims of physical abuse, that were born addicted to drugs. It was a whole bunch of stuff, right? So everybody's like, Joe's always so fun. Joe is, but Joe went through some crap and had to learn to laugh at it. But like our first foster sister that came into our house was 8 months old. Her name was Holly. She showed up with just getting out of the hospital, that she had 7 broken ribs and she had her arm in a cast. And so this little kid leaned to one side. She had broken blood vessels in her eyes from being hit so hard.
Oh my gosh, Joe.
And so she came in and we didn't, again, I'm like 11. I don't know the deal or what's going on, but I just know that someone really hurt this child and this child's now in our house. And the local government tells you, you need to provide a good home for them. We're going to give you money, not anywhere near enough to take care of a child, clothes, food, and shelter, right? And they give you this, and they said, and provide them a good home, but don't become attached.
Oh.
So how do you become attached? She was with us for 2 years.
Yeah.
So she was 2 years. Now, what I learned going through this is prior to the age of 2, you can replace parental figures without the child remembering that they are from a different parent. So you could legit go in there and swap a kid out at a year old, and they will never remember there was a parent before that.
Did not know that. Didn't realize that.
It's just one of those things where, so my little sister went through. Every night she would wake up with nightmares thinking she was back in the other house. And so she would wake up screaming. So mom would get up first. She'd walk in, she'd pull her out of the crib, and then she'd walk her through. And so I'm one of those people where if you touch my door handle at night, I'm up out of bed.
Yeah.
If I'm up, it's like, well, great. It's going to take a long time to get
wind back down. Yeah.
So we sat there. So my mom would walk her through, but in order to get her to understand she wasn't at the old house where she was abused and she was at our house, my mom would walk her through and open up every door. And she would open up my door and say, look, there's Joey, right? Then she'd open the door to my brother and there's Mickey. And then she'd go into the bedroom with all the other foster sisters. And she would say, and there's, Tawny, there's Candy, there's Desi. And she would show them. Then she would go downstairs. We had a great German Shepherd that sat outside, and he knew the routine. So as soon as you walk downstairs, she would open up the sliding glass door to the dog and say, there's Moose, right? Moose is here. Then she would come back, take the baby upstairs. This whole time, this child is screaming bloody murder. Like she doesn't know where she's at, and she's just screaming. So my mom's holding her like this and showing her everything. She'd get to the top of the stairs and hand her to my dad. And then my dad would come over. Boom, there's my door again. There's Joey. There's Joey's room. There's Mickey. And then he would go all the way around downstairs. And then I knew on the third pass was handoff to me.
Oh my goodness.
And this whole
and you were 11?
Yes. Whole time she's screaming, right? Because she's back in this thing. And by the time we were done on that one, I was handing her back to mom. Then she would start
calming down.
And so she would get to that point. But so this went on for the first 3 months every night.
Wow.
So sleep wasn't really a high point during that time.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then we had other foster sisters that came in through the house and doing that. And she went through. And then all of a sudden, the mom said, I want custody of my child back. And we don't know anything. So we scheduled visitation. So we would get to the point where we're sleeping fine, right? The baby sleeps through the whole night, nothing. Mom comes and has a visitation, a supervised visit.
Oh, no. Right? And brought all that trauma back.
Yeah. And boom, that night. So then we had a whole week of trying to get her to understand she was with us. And then we would get 2 more weeks or 3 weeks of her sleeping. And then mom would come back for another monthly visitation. Boom, spike again. And so, and again, that's just one of the children. I mean, there's so many stories I could tell you that, I got into how do I release a lot of stuff? How do I get the stuff right? Because as my parents, they were not bad parents. they did the best they could. Like every parent, we just do the best we can because we're not ready for every situation. But there was a lot of stuff that screwed me up.
Yeah.
Right. And I went through till I was almost in my 30s before I trusted people, because I got so many things that were the bad side of it. Right. Kids left in a car for a week at the beach, and then they come to live with us, and you split up 10 kids that were living in the
Oh,
back of the
wow.
pickup truck. Right. And then you look and go, another one that comes to you at 8 days old, and the child was born addicted to LSD and PCP. And so have a little sister that
I know. So
starts
the fact,
learning and then loses.
yeah, the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is too, I mean, at the time, your parents were being really great helping all these other children and probably didn't realize at the time, oh my goodness, I am traumatizing my own biological children from all of these different kids coming in and out of the family like this.
Yeah. And it wasn't,
Wow.
and that's why I had to go get some stuff, because I know their intentions were 100% good. Right. And doing
Yeah.
it, but it's stuff that my 11, 12, 13-year-old brain can't process.
Couldn't process it. Yeah, I
And
wanna say hi
so
to Sarah Parker, I see her on here too, and
I'm
Sean
not the angel
Benson.
there. I was just
Yeah,
in
he's
with the other angels. Right. And
yeah,
so, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Sarah's a blast. She lives in well, she's a
yeah.
good friend of mine.
So,
But,
so that was childhood growing up, and so I didn't know how to express emotions. I didn't. My whole thing was you jump on your bike and you ride away, right?
okay.
Go right around the block. Go right around the block. So it's that story. Hello, Miss Sarah. The whole story of, well, I ran away, but since I wasn't allowed to cross the street, right, I just kept walking around the block.
Aw,
So that was when so that, again, my whole thing was, you don't know. And I learned from dad, you bottle up most of your emotions. And then devastation hit with the fact that, so now we had all these little sisters go through in the first couple of years coming in. And then, people have to do bad things to kids for them to end up in the foster system. And so to me, I'm looking going, all adults are garbage.
yeah,
Right? They're garbage. This is how these kids ended up in our
yeah.
house, was because bad things happened to them. And then the court issued that my first little sister gets
Holly?
to, Holly gets to go back to her mom.
Oh, no.
So they placed her back with her mom. And so, I mean, shook the whole household. Okay. And I watched my dad just crumble, because that was daddy's little girl. That was his first little girl and stuff. So that was just watching everything splinter and be torn apart. But it was like, okay, that's where we're at. That's what we have. What can I do but deal with it? But get on the bike and go right around the block
Mhm.
until you're so physically tired you can't
Aw,
process
yeah,
anything. And so I've been working since I was 7. Okay, my parents owned gas stations,
mhm.
and so at 7 years old, it was get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to get ready to leave the house. You go to school. You go to the gas station, work a couple hours, then go get dropped off at school. Then when you get picked up from school, if mom didn't pick you up, you knew you were going back to work.
Yeah.
So dad would pick it up and go through. And Jerry, you're right. I keep trying to deflect it that way. Yeah. So
Oh, I'm sure Sarah's talking about you,
yeah.
Joe.
And then it was one of those things where it was like, okay, we just worked.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember not understanding math well enough to know that I worked 40 hours and got paid $20. And I was like, I didn't even make $1 an hour. I got paid negative. Right? My parents were like, back to math class for you. Right. And so, but no, I mean, it was always that way. It was always just work. So I got a great work ethic from my parents. Right. I'm sure from my little sisters not sleeping, that's what got me the whole stay up late. Right. I don't go to bed till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so it's really quiet in the house. Once you pass midnight,
Yeah, you can get a
peaceful.
lot done, yeah,
Yeah.
too, if you need to. But, so where are you now in California, though? What area?
So I'm in Irvine, which is Orange County. So
Okay.
behind the orange curtain, we say.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yes, Jerry, you did. So I'm in California. We don't know what snow is because we don't
Yeah.
experience weather like most people do.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because here in Ohio, it can be all 4 seasons in one day.
yeah,
It has been
I don't,
lately
I don't even
too.
understand that. I'm
Yeah,
summer all year long, every
yeah.
once in a while, because in California we can't merge and we can't drive in the rain. So as soon as the raindrops
Hammered.
hit, it's
I
like,
believe that. That's so true. I
yeah,
know. Oh my God, it's raining.
yeah.
Hey, Joe, Sarah wants to know, are you a father?
I am. I
Okay.
had so from my first marriage, I have 2 boys, and then my second marriage, she had a boy and a girl. So I'm a
Okay.
father of 4.
Very
So
good.
two,
Very good.
two, two look like me, 2 don't. So, but
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I didn't, you know what? I didn't actually know how many kids you had. So that's interesting too to know. But I also, that's crazy. First of all, your upbringing, having all of that kind of turmoil. Are your parents still living?
yes,
And do they ever talk about that? Did they ever adopt like permanently any of those little
yes. So
girls?
I have my we had 2 sisters. So we had two Hispanic sisters that we adopted, and we were legal guardian of my Black sister.
Okay.
And so, and again, the courts issued that a white family can't provide the cultural upbringing for a Black child, and moved her out of our house after we were legal guardians, and moved her to a family in LA. And so, and we haven't seen her since, but that was
Huh.
years ago. But she
Years
was
ago.
with us from 8 days old until 8 years old,
Wow.
and then they petitioned and moved her to a different family.
I'll tell you what, your parents must be super strong because I don't think my heart could take being getting attached to those children. And then what year was that? Like back,
So that was 2000. Let's see, 90. No, probably 97, 98.
yeah. Wow.
Um,
But they knew they wanted to help these kids and they certainly have. And even if, they got to keep this little girl for 8 years and teach her and bring her up with love, but then
yeah,
she has to leave. That can't be easy. I mean, that can't be easy
no,
on anybody.
no. So
Um,
humor is a huge part in our family. Okay, so like I'm the shyest and quietest one, so that
I'm
should scare
sure.
everybody who's watching. But yeah, family holidays are just out the window. But when you look at it, right? So it was a defense mechanism, right? And we dealt with it the way we had to, and we always deal with joking and doing stuff like that. So, but it was like, okay, we have issues with the fact that our little sisters come into our house, they grow up with us, and then boom, they're gone. And
Mm.
so it was traumatic and trying to learn with. But again, with my family, the answer was we laugh about it, right? There's no need to cry about it. We'll laugh about it, and we'll find something
Oh,
funny in that process. And so we just bounce with it no matter what. Like, so I found out why mom wanted girls. So when mom was in high school, oops, made a mistake, got pregnant. In mom's time, her grandpa said, "You're putting the baby up for adoption." So her father said, "You put the baby up for adoption." So she did. So that was a little girl.
oh,
So
wow.
that was where the trigger point was. Okay, I got boys, but I need to go back to penance kind of thing and make the life of a little girl coming up better because I had to put my child up
Wow.
for adoption. And so once she did that, so now I'm 19 years old, workaholic, I'm married, okay, and I have my first condo. And so I'm sitting in my condo making spaghetti one night. We had wall phones. I don't know if anybody knows what those
Mhm.
were, right? They're attached to
Landlines,
a wall.
and you have
Yeah,
that long cord,
yeah. And
spirally cord.
so then I walk, the phone rings. So I had a pay phone looking phone. So I picked it up, and my dad goes, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Do you know me? There ain't
Uh-huh.
nothing you can say that's going to shock me." Right. And he started laughing. He says, "Okay, your mom," and then he tells me, "Your mom had a baby when we got married after high school. We met and got married. We tried to find the baby, couldn't find the baby and stuff. The baby just found us." And I was like, "Oh." And he goes, "So your half sister is coming over to the house tonight, and we don't know if you want to meet her or not."
Oh my
And I
god.
go, and so it's me, right? It's my family. I go, "This makes so much sense." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "The way you treated me. I'm a middle child,
You
right? Instead of being the
got the
oldest."
middle child syndrome,
And
Joe.
my dad said, "You're an ass." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but sure, I'll come meet her." Sure. And so went and met my half sister, and that was
Wow,
it.
that is incredible. And so do you all stay in touch?
No. So my
No.
half sister came in. She spent a couple holidays with us and stuff, but then she went and lived her life with where she was
Sure.
at. And so, and when we ended up adopting 2 of the foster sisters that came through. The rest of them, you don't get to know once they leave your house. Now, to Sarah's question, right, are you in touch with any of them? This was the one that killed us. Okay, so 3 years after Holly got taken out of our house after 2 years and 8 months, right? We were supposed to move to San Diego. We were living in Diamond Bar, and my dad bought the gas station at the bottom of our tract of homes. So we were there. That's where I, elementary school and go to work and all that stuff was out of that gas station in Diamond Bar. And so lady pulls in to get directions, and it's Holly's mom. So I'm working, my dad's working, right? And so she comes in to get directions, and my dad looks at her.
Wait a
and
minute.
like,
just randomly, this lady.
Randomly.
Okay.
So this is how I learned the fact that you can replace kids' parents. So we're sitting there talking. So she's talking to us, and my dad's like, "Oh my goodness, you're here. What's going on? Where's Holly?" She's like, "In the car." And so then she waves at her. So Holly gets out of the car and comes walking forward. And I'm like, there's my little sister. Now she's grown 2 feet, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And my dad's like, hi. And my dad kneels down and he says, "Hi, Holly, do you remember me?" Okay. Still, after 3 years, he still had the poster that had her picture, her baby picture, in a light bulb that says, "You light up my life." Right. At that point, that was the day the poster came down. Because he sat there and she said, "No, I'm Holly." And she put out her hand.
Wow.
Right? And then I walk up going, well, I don't know how she doesn't remember Dad, but she'll remember me because my ego's bigger than that. And so I was like, "Hi, do you remember me, Holly?" And she's like, "No, I'm Holly."
Okay.
Like that. And I'm just like, and so boom. And then my dad's like, "Hi, blah, blah, blah," says hi to her, says, "Oh, you're a beautiful little girl," and da 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 da. "I'm so glad you're happy." She wasn't physically any different. It wasn't like she had continued to be abused. So we felt better that the mom had got the treatment and done it. So then she leaves. And then I'm sitting there going, now how do I deal with this?
Wow.
And
I don't know.
I turn around and Dad's just got tears rolling out of his
Sure.
eyes. He looks and says, "Hold down the store." And he gets in his car and drives away because that's how we handle things, right? And I'm like, well, I'm 15 or so, right? 16 years old. There is no just leave the business unattended kind of deal. So I'm sitting there going through and feeling all this stuff and going, And so it was just like,
Joe, that's.
Yeah. You couldn't crack a joke at that point in time about it.
No.
But we had to deal with it and move forward. And
yeah. I can definitely see where your heart would be broken because you genuinely loved this little girl, and you would have thought that but there's all kinds of science that proves that people with trauma and kids with trauma suppress things. So who know, later in life, I'm sure things started coming back to her, but it didn't help you in the moment, right? It's just
no, not at all. It was just like, and again, the answer is you look to the parent to go, so how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Right? And then you look over and Dad's like, "Whoa," and I'm like, that's how I think I should handle it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Did you ever get to a point where are you still like that? You suppress and just go on a drive, or are you more?
That actually sent me down the road of trying to understand what's all the drama that's in their head, or right, the fact that biting sarcasm is better than actually intimacy or getting close to people. So it's always keep people at a distance. And then I went in search of, let's figure out how the brain works so I can get rid of this or process it properly was the thing. And so I was introduced through a buddy of mine, Bob Donnell. He had an event which was Next Level by Association, where you come to dinner and all these people that want to move up get to talk to people, which is how I met Glenn Morshower. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We were talking before the show, so I'm tying it off.
Yeah.
And so that's how I met Glenn, was at that dinner. Well, at that
Yeah.
dinner, I met Michael. And Michael Stevenson has transformed Destiny, and he's an NLP guy that understands all this stuff. And then he was like, well, I'm doing this event called Create Your Life Now. And it was like, oh, okay. So I go sign up, and it tells you how to process the stuff without having to relive it. And so I
So
was like,
back up.
wow,
So
yeah,
NLP, is that the acronym for
neuro-linguistic programming.
linguistic programming? And
Yes.
that's what helps people deal with things without having to relive past? No,
Yes. And
it is.
so so NLP is just basically modeling the behavior or something that you want.
Okay.
So for example, if we went and threw 100 broke people into a room and we explained a scenario, the broke mindset is going to give the same answers, even though the people don't know each other. Then you go grab 100 successful people, you put them in a room and you give them a scenario, and they're going to go look at it a certain way. And then you'll go, wow, look at all the similarities on this. So then if you're broke, figure out how successful people think and model that, right? And so again, it's one of those things. Well, if you want to be more of a people person, picture the people person that you know. The person that just popped into your head that you go, this person is a people person. I would like to be more like that person.
Yeah.
Then when you do that, then the answer is, okay, so then what would that person do? What would that person say in this scenario? What would it be? And then model it until it becomes your behavior.
Yeah.
And so NLP teaches you that and shortcuts on how to get past a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I find NLP, I find it fascinating. And the fascinating part about it is what we all already kind of know, but not we don't always practice. That mindset is everything. You
Absolutely.
know, it really is. And you can really shoot for the stars if you have your head set in the right place. And I just think that you're amazing, and I know that you probably have learned all of these things, and then not just learned about them, but actually put them into action.
Right.
So with that, I want you to explain how you became the sales genius.
So in learning all of the stuff that I went through with how the brain works and what have you, when you learn to now, Dr. Bill Janishak and I met through this same Bob Janelle and Michael Stevenson group, and we're like best of friends. But he and I said, I think we can put this course on. Okay, and we named it Unpacking. So how do you unpack all the crap that's in this giant backpack that you're carrying around with you, right?
Yeah.
Your previous relationships, all that stuff your parents did to you because they didn't know any better, right? All of the stuff that is in your head because you didn't know not to let it get in your head, right? So you put it in there. So we do a little one-day event where we teach you to unpack it all.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So then if
I
you
like
empty
it.
your little backpack, now what's different than most classes is that we teach you how to do it and do it. So when you leave, you don't need to come back. I don't want you coming back every time going, oh, he has another one now in 2 months. I need to go unpack the crap from the last 2 months. No, it's about, look, one and done. Can you go out there and know, okay, that this is what you can do? And can you stop the stuff from getting in first? Okay. So it's one of those things where I say, like in the brain. So right now you have somebody who works a guard gate that's in your head, right? And it stops you when something that comes at you and you think it's false. Okay. So you have a little lady standing there like a parking thing that comes up, take a ticket, and it lifts up and comes down. Right. But if you don't, it's going to come down.
Yeah.
So that lady in your head that's sitting there holding this thing as I'm talking is waiting to go, no. Right. So if I look and go, Debbie, 2 + 2 is 5. What just happened?
Yeah, I put the X-nay on that right now. It came down.
Oh, you're lying. You're lying. Oh, can't trust Joe. Wow,
inaccurate.
and Joe's using it as an example right now, which means he did it on purpose, which means maybe I can trust him. So now the guard's like, I don't even know what to do with this guy. Okay. But the fact was it dropped when I said something you knew was inherently false. And so we all have that. Prior to the age of 7, you don't. So a lot of the crap you deal with in your life that repeats over and over again happened prior to the age of 7. And something you said went in your head. Okay. So think about how scary this is. And I tell people this all the time. How scary is that there is a winged creature that will fly into your room at night and take the dead teeth that fell out of your mouth from underneath your pillow and pay you for it. Tell me why children don't have nightmares from that.
I know, that's funny.
Right? But they go, oh, that's what's happening.
That's what's happening. Totally what's happening.
I buy into it. Yes. You know what hid the eggs outside for Easter? That bunny. Why does the bunny have eggs? We don't question it. We just go, yeah, So the programming gets done prior to the age of 7, and then it just keeps repeating.
Oh my gosh, I remember my dad saying, when I, started having my own children, and him saying, I kind of think it's cruel. I always went along with the Santa Claus thing. He said, but I really felt like it was cruel. I've
What
always felt
Santa
like I was
Claus thing?
lying.
What Santa Claus thing? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
You're not going to blow it for me now. I made it to
Okay.
52.
It's
You're
under
gonna go,
wraps.
what?
We'll
Yeah.
just say
Yeah.
that he's not a believer, and he
Right.
totally said, I just think lying to your children isn't the way to go. And I'm like, oh, Dad, I loved believing in the Santa Claus. But, the fact of the matter is he always perceived it as, I'm lying to my children about this, red suited man bringing gifts. He
I
always said,
realized when I figured it out, I had to start participating in building the toys. I became an elf for my
you
little
became an elf.
sisters
Yeah.
because my parents weren't like, because don't you understand as a kid, you look and you go, why are my parents so tired on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Why are they trying to sleep in? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to get up. I got to go do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Because they
second I
are
was like,
Santa.
Mom, there is no Santa Claus. I learned that in school. And she's like, great. Guess what you're doing on Christmas Eve?
You get a wrap.
Go, no, go build the bikes. Go
Oh,
build the
yeah.
little
Oh,
things. Go build
she's
the
smart.
Barbie playhouse thing. Because we had all these little sisters.
Yeah.
Right? And
So
it was like,
you got put to
woo!
work. You got
Yeah.
put to work. Oh my gosh, Joe, you do have an amazing work ethic. I mean, you've built a dynasty with your business. You are on the go all the time. I know now you have merch in the
Yes, we got merchandise
yeah.
because the stuff in my head needs to come out. And I think there's at least 3-4 people in the world that'll go, ha, I get that.
Oh,
And
I
they'll want to
enjoy
wear
your
it.
humor
Yeah.
so much. So everyone
So,
listening, you got to check out. It's I'm just gonna say it. It's the shit that's in his head that he
yeah.
puts on these shirts and different hats and whatever. And I ordered 2 shirts. I can't wait to get them because you are funny to me. Like, I totally get your humor. I didn't realize that your humor is coming from a place of putting Band-Aids on old wounds,
Yeah.
but I've heard that a lot of really funny people that use humor because it's a kind of like like a
A mask.
Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a masking
Yeah.
device.
Oh,
So,
here we go. Here's some
oh, look,
humor.
I
So,
got the tux that Rex was wearing.
yes. So,
Yes.
so Lynn, my producer, put your head on. She's doing this with everybody. She takes this guy in a tux and she puts everyone else's head on. Is that George Foreman with you?
It is.
That's cool. So you guys were having a business deal, or what was going on there?
So that was Orange County Automotive Dealer Association, and he was the guest speaker. So,
Nice.
so one of the things that transitioned for me was I used to go and attend things, right? I would go sign up for something so that I can go and take notes. And I have
Yeah.
all these flipping pads of notes. And it's like, oh yeah, that was great. That's going to change my life. Oh yeah. And it becomes shelf help, right? Because you come back, put it on the shelf later and go,
Yep.
yeah, I'll get back to that. No, you won't.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, what I said was, it's more important to make a relationship with the people you want to know or the people that give you those nuggets than it is to go learn the nugget. So how do you build the relationship? So I was just talking earlier today with Brian Galkey, a buddy of mine. It's only because we now attend events to meet the people we need to meet to keep in our sphere of influence so that we can actually, if somebody tells you this is how you become wealthy, okay? If they tell you that and you write it down, then there's a chance you could execute on it and do things. If you hang out with the wealthy person, do you think you're going to make dumb mistakes? No, because they're right there. They're right there going, did you not write down what I said last time?
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do this. It's
Yeah.
the power of association. And
Yeah.
so the answer is, how do you get into somebody's circle and how do you give them value so that they want to invest back into you? And so to me, that's every event I go to now is I got to go meet the speakers. I got to go do this. I got to go find these people so that I can get around them. And thanks to social media, I can do that.
You're right.
I can have that relationship that's going back and forth in the DMs on something to go through so that if I have a question on something, boom, I can hit the question and I get the answer back. Right?
Yeah, it's instant.
So my son, when he was 19, he was working for Tilly's, the clothing store out in West Coast. Okay, so he's in there and he listens to my podcast, the Sales Genius podcast. He listens to it all the time. He's like, okay, now of the 2 boys that are biologically mine, one was the one my parents wished upon me and said, I hope you get one just like you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the other one is, I call him process boy. He's like, what's the process? And I'll follow it. Okay. He never looks for his keys or his shoes because they're in the same spot every day.
Right. He knows where
Okay.
they are.
Right.
Same
So
spot every day.
he does everything that I go put out in the sales programs. I'm like, this is what you do. So at 19, he works part-time at Tilly's, and he's the regional leader in sales. Okay. So he's done it for 3 months in a row, gets an award for being the sales quarterly leader. And there's like nobody close to him on the sales. And so we go have breakfast one morning, and then he goes, did I tell you that I got the award for 3 months running the largest quarterly sales, and I'm part-time and beat all the full-time people and this and that? And I was like, so that's something you held out for the last 3 months? Hello?
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, oh yeah. So then I do an Instagram post on it. Then I go reach out to these influencers and say, hey, here's a link to the post. Could you go and congratulate my son? So he's not on Facebook or LinkedIn, so he won't hear this. But when you look at it, he goes, so all these people that all of a sudden go comment on there, congratulations, Nate, great job, Nate, this and that. So now my son's like, hey, Dad, somebody said, congratulations. And I'm like, yeah, because he's all over Instagram. He's young. And he was like, and I was like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know who he is. And I was like, why don't you click on it and see? And he goes, this guy was Michael Jordan's coach, right? This guy is coaching Dwayne Wade. This guy is coaching, Curry. And I'm like, really? What? And he was like, oh my God. And then I hit all these people that I have established relationships in the DM. So they all went and commented on it. And now he's looking, going, look at all this, look at all these things. And I'm like, I could provide that because I did the work up front.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's like, okay, I'm excited.
I like it.
Then I go meet him in person. And then every time I'm like, you actually wrote on my son's post for this. I remember when you asked me that and this and that. So now we have something in common when we first start talking. And I'm like, I'm that stalker from Instagram. Yeah. So,
that's so fun though. And it feels good even for him. I mean, rewarding that amazing achievement. That's so cool that you did that for him. How old is he now? Is this current or this was
21?
He's 20. So a couple of years. So what's he doing now? Still in sales?
Now he works for Toyota Corporate.
Okay.
So like our whole family's automotive, but he works Toyota Corporate, and so he just got his first company car, and he's excited. So he works out in their parts department in Ontario, California.
Okay, that's cool. I was going to ask you too. I know that you are involved with a lot of different automotive, real estate. Tell me a little bit more about how you go into these companies and help them be better.
So I'm a process guy at heart. Okay. I'm an electrical engineer by degree.
Okay.
Which
Wow.
means I should have no reason to be selling anything.
Selling. Yeah.
Okay. But again, growing up, it was all about personality. And I learned working at my dad's gas station, right? People would pull off of the freeway, 2 exits, drive down the side streets to pull into the gas station, and they'd honk their horn. And my dad would come out and they go, I'm running late, but I need the joke of the day. What's the joke of the day? So then my dad would tell them a joke. They'd go, ha, that's going to be great at work. And they would go down and jump on the freeway.
That's so fun.
Exit. So I realized that humor helps to bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will sit down. So I left engineering and I went to work at a criminal defense law firm. Okay. And the only reason they hired me at a criminal defense law firm, like, you got a law degree? No. Right. The guy was like, I went through 14 people in an interview and they were like, this guy knows how to put teams together. Yeah. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to keep the energy up and keep people going. That's what we need here at a criminal defense law firm. So I walked in not knowing, understanding commission. I didn't understand any of this other stuff. So I sat down and said, I will invest in a team and build a group of people, even though we're dealing with the crappy kind of people. Because who are the people calling criminal defense firms? Innocent people. Yes, I know. That's what I was told too. But right, it's people that did bad things and got caught. Okay. Yeah. And so the worst of the offenders, we get to charge more. So then I sat down and started realizing that my ability to adapt to people, okay, and put this humor on in any situation helps people to relax.
It's true.
And understand that this is the right message for me to hear. And so that's what I sat down and said, okay, let me do this. So I took this criminal defense firm that was in 2 states, making 300 grand a month in gross sales. And within 6 months, we were at $1 million a month.
Wow.
And we were in 9 states. And so it was like, boom. And the owner was like, let me show you what you would make if you were on commission. And the second he showed that, I was like, oh, I don't ever want to go back to being paid
a salary. Yeah.
Because I'm actually getting paid based on what I produce.
Yeah.
So when I go into companies, I take that same approach and I say, let me go see where process hinders this. Once I left the criminal defense firm, I went into automotive, and then I excelled in the automotive area. Okay. And then I got nicknames of genius because how did you figure that out? And I'm like,
I'm a genius.
It seems pretty obvious. Yes. It's like when you stick your hand in a blender, it hurts.
Game?
Yes, exactly. So that's all I do is I go in and I evaluate processes because I love processes, but there's certain things. So in the automotive space, we say there's a road to the sale. So you stick with cars, right? And I say some people put processes in that are potholes. Okay. Now, if you've ever driven down the road, okay, in Ohio, you've got weather, right? If you can't see the pothole and you hit that pothole, how excited are you at that point in time?
Yeah, not too excited.
Not too excited.
Pretty upset about it.
If you put a pothole in your sales process, there goes customer satisfaction. And so then I stop and I go, let's go look at what you're doing now. Because everybody's answer is that's what we've always done.
Mm.
And if I come at it from a different thing and say, how do I improve things? Because everybody says they want to improve things. No one wants to change. Okay. I'm one of these people that if I were to actually, if I stay any place for a long period of time, I'm bored because I will fix something. Mm-hmm. So when I was employee, by the time I got 10 months to a year down the road, everything's humming on the way it's supposed to work. And it's like, I don't want to be here.
Peace out. I'm off to the next thing I need to fix.
There's nothing to fix.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to be the guy who goes messes it up just to do it. So I'll say 4 hours is typical.
4 hours sleep. The question is, how many hours do you sleep a night, Joe? About 4. Yeah, I would be toast. Yeah. I need more than 4.
I've tried 8 before. Like I don't function well. So if I get 6, that's like the max that I can handle. And so, but no, typically that. But the goal is what? To sit down and say, I'm not afraid to say to a client, what you do is stupid. I don't even know why you do it. And it's going to be somebody in a different field or somebody that was in a different department that is imposing their views on something that hurts the flow of sales. And so that's where it came in. So what I had done in the beginning was, is she speaking Russian to me?
Obviously.
Obviously. Yes, I got it. So no, but the overall goal is what? You go in and say, what can be improved? And I've sat with people before and I'm like, hey, you're at like 95%. You don't need me. Right. And they're like, but we want that last 5%. I'm like, you're not going to get there because that's controlled by people. It's product, people, and process.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes
and so
total sense.
I prefer, we got to get, Sarah, I was just messing with you. Yeah. So as you probably can tell by now, I will. Yes. If there's
he will mess with you for sure.
I will find it. Yes. So when you look at that, my answer is I want to go in and I want to find out what is wrong. I want to fix it quickly so I can get out and leave. And sometimes you just got to spend more time. But overall, looking at everything that people do, we put things in our own way that prevent us from doing it, from getting to the next level. And again, if I don't put a process in place in your company and I depend on you to come in and do what you need to do, and you don't know what to do, you're going to wing it every day like sales departments, right? So if I put a process in place, then you will get steady results because the process is driving it. Okay. If you don't, and you do, have you ever gone to go to work in your own business, anything, and not felt like it that day?
Oh yeah.
Right. And so people that are in the sales arena, these are people that when you look at them and you go, hey guys, how much money are you going to make this month? And they go, I don't know, but I'm excited. Right. You're Your office, nice.
Sarah.
Nice. In
I
the
love
car
her.
business, we have the wacky wavy arm man that does
Yes.
this outside. So that's what we do that one. But so if that's the personality of that person, following a process isn't anything they want to do. So you got to make it something easy, bite-sized that they can follow and stay consistent. And I tell everybody that I train, you will hate me all the way till payday.
And then you'll skip to the bank.
And then you'll be all excited. You'll get your check. Then you go spend it on whatever you do because you have the same personality that's going to spend it all, right? And then you're going to come back and hate me all the way till the next payday. But again, I want results all the time, okay? And I believe business is about results, and results create relationships. Not I want to.
That is what I wanted to hear, because I watched you on another podcast and you said that, and I was like, ooh, say that again.
Okay, so business is not about relationships. Business
Which
is
everybody
about
says
results.
it is.
They all say that because then I don't have to deliver results. If you like me, you'll still pay me.
Gotcha. So say it again. I love this.
Business is not about relationships. It's about results. Consistent results establishes a relationship. So if I can't provide value to a client, I don't want to be there just because you like me.
I like it.
And that's what most people have an issue with. I want to go impress somebody new. I'll go out there and talk to somebody new and say, here, let's go change your business for the better and to go in and do this. Like I went into a client out in Vegas, traveled over to Vegas. I went in, sat down. They found me on somebody referred them and said, hey, you should talk to Joe if this is what you want. So I go out, I meet with them all over, Zoom, and we talk about stuff. Then they hire me. I go out, meet with their team. Their team is averaging 27 appointments a week. And they're like, this is what we got. Our team's kicking it. And I'm like, yeah, well, let's go through training first. So I went through the first week of training and went downstairs on the second week on Wednesday, which Wednesday, is hump day, right? And so you're like, okay, I walk downstairs and they're like, for this week, we have 93 appointments. They're like, we have 23 appointments today on Wednesday. And that used to be our weekly.
Whole week, yeah.
And I was like, great, keep going. And they're like, I'm like, I don't even have to brag about it. I want you, and you got appointments. Are you going to sell them all? That's what I want to see.
Oh yeah, results once again.
I want the results.
What else is crazy? Like the way when you talk about in business how you should break things off into bite-sized pieces, like you teach like that. Really in life, we need to any changes that we make to try to better ourselves. I feel like a lot of us get into problems when we're like, I am going to the, New Year's resolution type deals, where I'm like all in instead of just like, okay, wait, what is realistic of what I can do right now that I can handle until I continue to add to that. Right. So that really resonated with me, Joe, when you said that.
Do one thing. Make one change.
Yeah.
Don't change everything because your brain doesn't understand. Your brain sits back and goes, wait. Everything is different, but your unconscious mind is a habit machine.
Yeah.
Right. Your unconscious mind goes, no. It's all about what can I take off of your plate, Mr. Conscious?
Yeah.
What can I do automatically? So everybody tonight when you brush your teeth, because you should brush your teeth. The dentist told me that, right? Because when you brush your teeth, you understand that that's a habit that somebody gave to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You don't instinctively wake up with a toothbrush. Right? You don't go hunt in the wild and find a toothbrush.
Yeah.
No, somebody hands you a toothbrush as a kid and says, go brush your teeth. And you're like, I don't want to. Brush your teeth. And the consistency on that one has now made it something you do without thinking.
Yeah.
Switch your hands. Use
I
your
should
other
start
hand.
brushing with my left hand now.
So if you're right-handed, switch to your left, vice versa. But do it with that. But close your eyes because you're going to stab yourself because you're not used to it.
Might poke your eye out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always said if I were to break my right arm, I would be really screwed because this guy over here is like maybe stabilizing things. I can't really. It's crazy. Sarah, Joe, you are awesome. Debbie, I love you. You are precious. Gotta run. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. I want to know about, because you have figured a lot out because you wanted to learn, you wanted to grow. You wanted to help yourself without unpacking your whole history, like you said, but what are some of the things that you have learned through business that the best advice you can give for others about if you own a business, you're in a business, or you're, top sales guy, whatever, or woman, what advice have you learned, like maybe even the hard way, that now you tell everybody you can tell?
Yeah. So I will tell you right now, when it comes down to business itself, the goal is for you to be who the prospect needs you to be to give you their money, for them to feel comfortable. And too often we hold on to, well, this is me, take me or leave me. This is who I am. And so we're telling somebody, this is who I am and deal with it. And so right now, because I do a whole personality training thing too, is that if there's 4 distinct personalities, what are the odds Debbie and I are the same? 1 in 4.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think average closing percentages is for salespeople across the nation in any industry?
Yeah. Is it 1 in 4?
1 in 4. And so you're going to sit back and go, I'm the best closer of them all. If you lay it in front of me, I'm going to knock it down. And you go, no, you're not. You're going to close at 25% because the person who sits across from you that's just like you has no issue with you. And that person will feel comfortable with you because you remind them of them, and they will do a transaction. And then you'll say, wow, I didn't even plan on buying, but you made it so easy. And you go, and we go, what about the other 3? What about the other 3 that left? Well, that was their fault. They were idiots. They were wasting my time. They were doing, and so in sales, we're so busy trying to keep our ego up that we lose business because of it, and we think we make business because of it. And the answer is you don't. You don't. You cost yourself business to have an ego. You want to have an ego, go have an ego with the other sales guys when you win at the end of the month. Okay, but your client needs you to be who they need you to be. And so in every personality training that's out there, no matter which one you do, they break it down and say there's 4 distinct personalities, but everybody has all 4 pieces in them.
Mm.
It's just to the level at which you feel comfortable to use those. Some people can't manage, can't get their checkbook balanced. Okay. And they can't see processes, but they could if they had to.
Right.
Okay. If you gave them enough time and enough pain, right, they'd be like, okay, I balanced my checkbook. Okay. But it doesn't mean they can't or they don't, but you have to bring out that part of your personality. And most people in the sales side are of the more emotionally up and down, where a stable person is like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly.
And you go, well, I work
these
on
sales
commission.
people are crazy people. And
I work on commission. I have
like,
no idea how much I'm going to make, right? Even in my own business today, I go into the beginning of the month. Like right now, I'm booking out June. And I've got weeks taken up in June already, almost full. But then I can tell you what it is. But if you ask me on, the end of April, what are you going to make in June? I'm like, I don't know. We ain't there yet. Right? And it's like, they're like, what? I'm like, I can give you an idea. But if you look at somebody who typically loves the security of a salary or a paycheck, and you go, what are you going to make this month? They'll tell you within cents of what they're going to make for the month. And they're like, well, depending on overtime, I'll make blah, 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 blah.
That's crazy.
And so you got to understand that. So I will adapt my personality to that.
Yes. And so I've heard you talk before, and this makes so much sense to me. And it's like sometimes you'll bring things up that are just kind of like, I think we kind of know, but you don't know until you bring it to the front of your brain. You were talking about the differences in when you're able to talk to someone face to face and you're using social, you're looking at them, you're using facial expressions, you're using your hands,
Body
you're
language.
smiling,
Yep.
body language, all of these things. But then now we're so much email, texting, all of that. So what advice do you give salespeople about transitioning from you can't kind of say the same things that you would face to face because it can be very interpreted very differently in an email when you can't hear the tone. What advice do you give for that?
So I tell salespeople all the time, I go, let's sit down, let's talk. Because if we're in a room together or we're on Zoom, you can still do it. You guys can get a feeling. I move my hands a lot and I talk and I bounce around because we have the camera on. Okay. When you look at this and say, You either go from a face-to-face conversation, a phone conversation, or an email text conversation. You are a body language communicator. Human beings communicate 55% of the information through their body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The 38% is tone and inflection, which means the words face to face are 7%. So it doesn't matter. But if I looked at you and I go, hey, Debbie, yes. Hey, did you hear that gate come down again?
Yeah,
You're
I'm like,
bam. They're like,
that
wait.
off. What's
And then
going on here?
depending on how you learn is whether you think. But most people will look and go, he meant no, because he shook his head. Because the body language wins. Okay. So we are body language communicators. And then we go pick up the phone. You pick up the phone and you don't have your body languages to make up for the words you're using. So we use very poor words because they're only 7% of total communication. So that's why somebody with a really thick accent, you may not understand what they're saying, but you can actually get through it and understand what's there. You always know if somebody's malicious or not.
When you're face to face.
When you're face to face.
Yes.
So you can get that feeling of them, right? So I always laugh at guys because why would they be wearing a sweater vest? But I go, if I looked at you and go, hey, nice sweater vest, or I said, hey, nice sweater vest, right? You sit there and go, well, the second one was insulting. Why? It's the same words.
Then tone
the
and
words
inflection.
Meaning change because of tone, inflection, and my facial expressions. So when you go and you take your 7% words that require your body, now you go pick up the phone. And the phone, your words are 20% of your overall communication. Tone and inflection is 80%. So when you look at that and go, I'm now using 7% words when it's a 20% requirement. So do you understand why you close less on the phone? Do you understand why there's more miscommunications over the phone? Right? If I said, the thingamajig over there, the thingamajig, that's a body language word because if you don't know where I'm pointing, you don't know what I'm saying.
Right.
So say, well, that thingamajig on the side of my office over there and you're on the phone, what does that mean? Nothing, right? People that go, oh, Debbie, on your way to the office, get off the freeway and turn. Okay. And when you get to the next light, you're like, which way did they turn? They don't see your hand doing this and you're on the phone, right? Turn this and they don't know.
Right.
But people are using body language words on the phone.
So, but what do you do? Like if you have to do your call, you're on the phone or via email, sending a message to start the ball rolling on a sell or a sale or whatever. What do you advise us to do?
I teach better words.
You teach better words.
So what I train people to do is to use a different language than they're used to. And everybody says that that's not the way I talk. I go, I know. That's why you can't sell on the phone or email text.
Right.
How many different things? So understand, tone and inflection is missing when you go to text and email. It's all 100% words. And you're going to go grab 7% words that require your body and your tone, and you're going to go put them in and send it to somebody without body language, without tone, and expect them to get the same thing. You can't.
No.
Because tone and inflection is based on the person reading them.
And the other part of this is many times, like jokingly, like this has happened to me before because I, sometimes think I'm hilarious too. And not everyone does, but like I'll send a
They're
message.
wrong, Debbie.
And I mean, just like even tonight, I don't know if anybody is watching this, that I sent this group message out. They're trying to find something. And then I'm like, oh, I'm doing Find It tonight. I can help you find it. Watch the show. And I think they're like stressed trying to find something. Oh, this was when I was on your show. This was what I wore.
This is the Wargames outfit.
Wargames. Come on, people, get with me. I'm in theme. But yeah, so I'm like, I can help you find it if you watch my show tonight. And they're probably like, wah, wah, wah. But it's, you send the message and you think that is so funny. And everybody's like, that is so not funny. I mean, shut up, Debbie,
Right.
But so even like with humor, but like that the other night, you were like you were one-lining it and I was laughing. Ken Walls was talking about having rental properties and I'm never renting out property again because they were shooting up the ceiling. They shot the dishwasher. And you said, in that story, I was the dishwasher. I couldn't hardly keep it together. I was like, I'm going to like snort here in a second. Your humor is hysterical. But one last thing, I want to ask you, what was the best advice you were given? And do you remember who it was? It was probably you probably learned from example with the work ethic from your parents, but like in your line of like through the years, working in business, was there anyone that ever really inspired you and taught you something that you're so grateful for?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people because, like, again, because I get to go meet the people, and I'm like, if I'll go make it there, like Eric Thomas, right? E.T. the hip hop preacher, I went and got to meet him. Les Brown, I got to meet him, right? And so when I sit down and talk to them, I always explain, this is what you said that hit me, okay? But one of the things that hit me the most was there was an owner of one of the businesses where I was working as an employee, and he was talking one day, and he said, look, the reason marriages are successful, the only ones that are successful are when each partner owns 90% of the relationship. And this works with business. This works with clients. So it's not 50-50, meet me in the middle. It's I owe 90 and you owe 10. And then if the other side believes they own 90 of the relationship and 10, no one gets disappointed because who's not putting in 10% every day? And so when you think it's 50-50 and I've done my part, you're not doing yours. Well, if your part was 90% and I own the relationship with every one of the people I know. So I own the relationship between Joe Ingram and Debbie Bettendorf. I own this relationship, which means I own your understanding. And too many people sit back and say, well, that's not what I meant. That's her fault if she thinks it that way. Right? And I don't do that. My answer is, well, if I said it and you heard something different, that's on me and I'll fix it. And it's not about blame. It's about ownership. And so the thing is take ownership for everything that you have. And if you take ownership for every relationship you have, personal or business, if you own that relationship, then you have the power to fix it or end it.
That's amazing. That really is. And that stems from a certain mindset as well, to take ownership of it, knowing this is how I'm going into this and this is the way I'm going to think about it. It's huge. It's huge. Well, Joe, I would love to have you on again sometime because there's all kinds of rocks we haven't overturned.
We haven't found everything.
We haven't found everything. We have a show called Find It, and we only found like a little bit of it.
Right.
So we got to find more.
Sometimes I bury it deep.
Yes. You buried it. We'll have to find it. We'll have to get a shovel. But anyway, I so appreciate you. You are amazing. You guys need to follow him on Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't know if you have any room on your Facebook account.
If you go to joescontact.com.
joescontact.com. Okay.
So if you go there, it has every link, social media, schedule a meeting, all that stuff is on there. So if you go, what was his thing? So there's a poker player named Joe Ingram who out SEOs me, right? Yeah. So if you put Joe Ingram and you put sales after it, then I own the pages.
Yeah.
But so that's why I was like, I'm gonna make Joe's Contact. You go there and it's got
Joe's Contact.
Instagram, TikTok.
Well, that's easy. joescontact.com.
Yeah.
There we go.
I do things like that.
There you go. joescontact.com. Yeah, you make it easy. Easy to follow the genius.
Make everything easy, right? What did Einstein say? He said, if you can explain something to a child, then you're a genius because you took the complex to make it simple.
There you go.
And so to me, I'm like, if somebody wants my contact, go to joescontact.com.
I like it.
Makes sense.
Nothing fancy, but it works.
Right.
I like it. Coming from the engineer, just give it to me straight there.
Build it once.
I like it. I like it. Well, I appreciate you being on here, and I appreciate your friendship and you having me on your show. All of the rest, I want you to know that I think you're a super special person. And I think you're amazing in your field, and you have humor too, which is, to me, I would rather learn from someone who has a really great sense of humor than not. So keep on going, the genius. Hi, Trisha. So with that, let's do our outro. See how cute that is.
Lynn, do the outro.
Lynn.